You do weigh in. It's just like he says that I have 51% of the vote and he has 49.
Yes, I love that one.
We're just about equal, except I have veto power.
Yeah. In the company, it comes to it.
Welcome to The Love Department, the heartwarming podcast uncovering the nature of love and relationships. I'm your host, Nick Lockhart. I'm a former matchmaker, a writer, a love theorist, and I love a good cocktail. I'm so grateful you're here. Today on the show, I sat down for a heart-to-heart with Allie and Chuck. They're both in their early 30s and met after a series of heartbreaks. In this episode, we'll touch on healing from generational trauma, caring for someone with disabilities, how bartenders can be shy, and the thing that started it all for one of them, manifestation. And if you're subscribed to the Love Department on Patreon, you'll get some special insight from this episode. Join us for exclusive content at patreon.com/thelovedepartment. If you listen closely, you might hear some sweet jazz music playing from the apartment above. They live in Manhattan, coincidentally, the name of the drink that brought them together.
To really start at the beginning, we need to go back to 2015. And that was, to date, one of the hardest years of my life that I have ever been through, where there was romance betrayal, there was friendship betrayal, and it was a very intense time in my life. And truly manifesting became my comfort of this singular focus of what my life would be like on the other side of this, and who my partner would be and what they would feel like. I could never call to mind a face. I only ever felt their energy and the energy of the relationship that we were creating together. And it became like a bedtime story for me. When I was having particularly tough nights, I would just focus on what it would be like in the future. And later on, once I got a little bit more healed from the rawness of said betrayals, I started focusing on, what do I need to do to make this happen? What do I need to learn? What do I need to unlearn? How do I go from this just dream to an actual reality one day?
Heartbreak can be our greatest teacher, not only about what we desire or don't want, but about ourselves. And so Allie put herself out there, despite the hard lessons that came with it.
But even after those, it made me more committed to getting it right and being the right version of myself eventually. I would not be who I am now, sitting where I'm sitting, in the relationship that I'm in the way that we are in relationship together, without all of the people before.
Ah, yes, all the people before. We've all had those lessons, those people that came to teach us, but not necessarily be with us forever. And so I asked Allie what she thought at the time her great love would feel like.
I think the biggest thing was an overwhelming sense of peace. It was a feeling that I knew that when I met this person, I would really embody that particular feeling. And at the time in my life that I was in, with the relationships that I had had and the love stories I had seen modeled to me, I didn't see that. So I couldn't point to it and describe it and say, oh, it's that. It was just something that I was looking for myself. A new feeling that I had never felt, that I did not have words for, but I knew could happen.
As part of her manifestation work, Allie began doing a lot of self-healing, and it's something that I recommend to anybody hoping to be in a meaningful relationship. To first look inside and ask yourself the hard questions. And the moment we become so ultimately real and authentic and honest is often the times when we are led down the path of least resistance. And for Allie, That path was a long drive up a cobblestone driveway leading up to a castle.
Chuck, did you have any sort of list or ideals of what your future partner would be like?
No, I was really kind of in a sad, just Chuck, the workaholic, at a, castle and just working until the castle owner dies, and then I had to go to a new castle. I didn't think I deserved anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's another wedding. Oh, this is the fourth one this week. Good.
Yeah.
The castle Chuck is referring to is Oheka Castle, located in Huntington, Long Island in New York. This is where they would eventually meet. It's a destination for film shoots, plenty of glamorous over-the-top events, and of course, weddings. The night Chuck met Allie, he had long since resigned himself to being single, forever, until this self-professed beast met a beauty sitting at the end of his bar.
Yeah.
I was very enamored by it, but you call me
Frosty.
Frosty, yeah.
Oh, he was Frosty.
But she didn't know that I was.
He had his own independent thoughts going on, apparently, but I definitely got, when
Frosty
you think
bartender.
of Frosty Bartender, that is the initial energy he came over with. And then it unfolded later that it was because I was drinking his favorite cocktail and he didn't get the chance to make it. Honestly, one of the worst cocktails I've ever had in my
Hurts
life.
even more.
He came in with disappointment that he had to mask, and it just came across as Frosty.
I realized in talking with him just how many first dates and chance meetings happen at the bar. Bartenders are our supplier of liquid courage, our therapist in times of heartbreak, our constant wingman for these dating moments. In the words of great American writer Mark Twain, too much to drink is barely enough. Well, unless that drink was this drink. The Manhattan, a signature cocktail beloved by many. It held special significance for Allie, who chose it as her drink for the evening.
I ordered it because I was there in honor of my grandmother. Halloween is her birthday. So I got dressed up and I ordered a Manhattan at where he works because that was one of her favorite places. And the Manhattan is her favorite cocktail. And then I find out later it's his favorite cocktail to drink and to make. The reason for me why it was disappointing that it wasn't good is because I was drinking this drink as a way to understand my grandmother and who she was and what she liked. And I was very thrown as to how bad it was, considering everything I knew about her. It's just, there's no way this woman wants this sugary, chaotic, unblended mess.
Because you didn't finish it, I think. You just left it aside.
I didn't finish it.
And I was like, was this no good? Yes. And then I said, let me make you something else, please.
I think it's so interesting how you think of a bartender as one of the most social jobs that you would ever have to do.
So many types.
And yet, it's just not really the case with you. You're not the chatty, strike up a conversation, talk your ear off kind of bartender. He's very shy. So
I wouldn't think that as a bartender, too.
the great thing about bartenders that people get wrong is that a lot of them can be shy, but they're just in such a hyper social environment for facilitating it for other people that the patrons gloss this super outgoing idea onto the bartender that's like probably not there. I have worked in the service industry. I still work in the service industry. I was looking around and I was seeing the getting toward the last few patrons, closing time vibes. And I never want to be the last person in a new place where you don't know anybody. So I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to get going now. And Chuck made his move and said the most endearing combination of words. And he said, I would like it if you stayed.
Can we just take a moment, a pause, to appreciate Chuck's bravery? I would like it if you stayed. And it's that moment of sincerity that really broke through the walls for her and showed Chuck that there was an opening, that maybe the cute girl at the end of the bar was interested.
Because we work in service industries and friendliness and being cordial and accommodating is par for the course, when you actually show true sincerity, that for me was so paramount with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a moment and a feeling that I was looking for. To tie back to earlier, is this feeling of just sincerity and presence. And you showed that.
Yeah. That was a brave thing for you to say in that moment. Where did that courage come from?
Her.
Oh.
Yeah. You gave me that courage because I felt comfortable with you. Like, just totally. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is an amazing woman. Absolutely. I could spend my life with this.
Oh.
You gave me that courage for sure.
Without even knowing it.
But that's, anybody can look cute and look nice, but to actually be kind and to be gorgeous and to be, just the demeanor and just, it was so much more that just went, and everything just kept unfolding within the night, and it just kept getting better and better. It keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, it does. Kept and keeps.
Yes.
Yes.
And so they exchanged numbers, and a date soon followed. Or was it a date? Allie wasn't sure.
Sometime in between that sincere moment and arriving for drinks, it was, is this a date? Oh my God, am I ready for a date? No, it's not a date. I can't do a date. It can't be a date. It's not a date. It's not a date. And then he's all excited that it is a date. And
Such a French restaurant out.
he found this nice place to go. And he mentioned, oh, we can get a drink at the bar and then we can go have dinner. And dinner was the key for me because I have a lot of food allergies that I did not mention because I didn't think it was a dinner thing. And then when I was like, oh, I thought we were just getting drinks, then Chuck has this moment of, oh, it's not a date. So we just both went in with this, it's not a date vibe, and just got to get to know each other and just talked with no pressure, which was very nice.
But then we had to get food.
Ah, yes. With the stakes of it's just drinks being no pressure. They had passed several hours and realized they were pretty hungry. And that French restaurant Chuck mentioned, well, it wasn't very Allie allergy friendly. So he suggested something else.
But, I was like, I know a really great vegan spot. It's in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and I was like, is it Champ's Diner? And he said, it is. And I was like, I've always wanted to go there. So we drove
From Long Island,
Manhasset, to Williamsburg, which was probably, a 40-minute drive?
Not too bad. No
And we got vegan food. And then that's when it started turning into a date. And it became clear, like, okay, the date vibe is back on. And we just went to another spot, and there was a bartender there who told us that we were really cute. There was 2 trigger moments for us starting our dating journey. 2 phrases. 1, I would like it if you stayed. 2, you guys are really cute together. And then it was just, okay, we're off to the races.
You know what? After I had met her, I went to my friend's bar, and he brings up today when he sees her, he's like, you should have seen Chuck that night when he told me he met you.
It's very sweet.
And he's like, Chuck was like getting like a little girl in the barbecue. He's like, he was just ear to ear, and he just couldn't stop talking about you. So I mean,
it was
and I was after meeting you.
That was the night we met, and this friend who I adore, he's like the sweetest, squishiest person, teased him and asked, when's the wedding?
Oh, yeah, I did do that too.
It was just a constant unfolding of getting to know each other and having really sincere and heartfelt conversations and doing fun date things and playing music for each other and saying, that's my favorite song. Wait, that's your favorite song?
gosh.
That's my favorite
So
song.
What songs?
Dear to Me by
Yeah.
Electric Guest. We had both played it for ourselves for years since we heard it, wanting to dedicate it to someone one day, but not feeling like we had the person in our lives, and then we both wanted to play it for each other.
This modern fairy tale began in a Long Island castle bar on Halloween. But most love stories begin well before people meet. I'm talking about the one we have with ourselves and the journey to loving ourselves just exactly as we are before someone shows up to sweep us off our feet.
We put so much weight on becoming something once we're in a relationship. And one of the last big things that I tried to teach myself, learn, take courses, was focusing on like, no, you need to become that version for yourself. Whatever you are putting into the future for someone else to help you do or to help you become, just start to try to become that for yourself. Put yourself first. And that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just look at Chuck and I look around our apartment and I'm like, why? Why was I trying so hard to make something work that's just not working? I would tell the younger version of me to just have the amount of patience I can muster for everything else, for this too. Because I was so impatient to get there, because growing up, you're shown princess movies. And the story starts when you find the guy and you find your Prince Charming, and that's when your life starts, and everything's just going to get better and better from there, and it's your jumping off point. But that's not to say when you're in a relationship that there's not work to be done. You have to treat your relationship with respect and kindness. And yes, sometimes you get on each other's nerves and you still have to prioritize communicating kindly because this is the person that you love. It's not that kind of work. It's like banging your head against the wall. And you just are so convinced that this is the thing you're supposed to be doing. And looking back now, for me, I cannot answer why. This is getting ridiculous. I'm making myself sad on happy occasions because the story I was still hoping for didn't unfold.
Yeah.
And I just had to let it go. And then I finally met him when it was the last thing on my mind. And I was there as this like generational healing effort for me and my mom and my grandmother.
Yeah.
I can empathize with Allie here, where she mentions the pursuit of this great love becoming like a never-ending loop of disappointments. You know, you're tempted to rush, to settle. And yet, when I see them together now, I can only admire the effortlessness and how obvious it is that these two totally belong together. But as for Chuck, he was coming in with his own wounded wings. This is a great time to check out our Patreon. You'll hear more from Chuck about an experience in his childhood that really shaped his ability to trust and relate to others.
We both, yes, grew up in towns that are like maybe 30 minutes from each other on a map, but having this like alienating experience in our surrounding area, not fitting in. So while, yes, we geographically were in similar spaces, mentally and emotionally, we grew up in similar spaces.
The commonality that Allie is referring to is that they are both the product of interracial relationships. And while it may be something that one glosses over as cute coincidence, here at the Love Department, we wanted to go a little bit deeper.
We're both biracial, so we have in common that we have European white ancestry with one parent, and the other parent, in my case, is Black, and in Chuck's case is Korean. It absolutely matters because it has formed who we are, and those experiences with being othered and being pushed into one category or the other has defined our lives. So in a way, it 100,000% matters. But the way we handled it with each other was so just easy and casual, and I see something in you, you see something in me, we know what this thing is, we share it in common. And yes, we are quote unquote made of different stuff. We do share one parent in common that is white European, but they are from different countries, ancestrally speaking. And Chuck has a different experience of being first generation Korean American because his mother immigrated here. So that was a different angle to his biracial story than what I have.
There is such an ease that goes with being together between us because there's just a look and a nod. Like, we don't have to worry about that. Like, it's so obvious that weirdness out in the world for being different, and we're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
I mean, why are you a mean person? Like, just in the relationship, that was just seamless, really.
I think for me, it's characterized by an instant recognition for the first time ever in my life. Like, I've had, I think, only maybe a handful of close personal relationships with people who are biracial and identify as biracial, and who have that very singular experience of being forced to pick a side and to pick an identity. And meeting Chuck and Chuck meeting me, and we are both so proud to live on the border and to be that combination of two things. Was this moment for me that I don't even think we put it to words so much as we just knew immediately something about the other person that neither of us have had validated in other people before.
We've talked about it once, but it was after that we're like, we knew. We always knew.
I think it's two things. It's a validation of two people just loving each other so deeply and so purely, because I feel like there's such a pure-hearted, almost childlike joy with Chuck and I in the way that we express our love for one another.
And they see that for sure.
Even though it is definitely rooted in adulthood, it still has such a lightness and such a joy that I feel like once we get older, we start to lose a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, it's the understanding that they created a biracial child, and that biracial child found another biracial child to have a relationship with, and that we understand each other in a way that other people haven't understood us, and in a way that our parents don't even understand us.
That's the one I think it is really.
That we found someone who gets that particular experience of being caught in the middle of something.
That's it.
Your parents, when they fell in love, whatever that looked like, didn't have the freedoms in a way that you guys have to express and to love each other.
No, they did not. We share that, actually, that we, in both of our families, the creation of that relationship between our parents meant severing connections with other family members. So we are absolutely the product of two parents who had to choose each other and that were forced to make great concessions and lose a lot of connection to home and to family because they chose each other. Yeah, it's
you don't
sad.
Realize, you don't even realize it until you say it out loud too.
Yeah.
My mother left. Her father said no to the marriage to my father for my mother, and I was like go to America. That's it. You're not.
Wow.
My mother's like, it can't be worse than this.
Touche,
She
Mom.
left.
Yeah, she left, and my parents definitely. Both of our parents were around the same age when they met each other. So they met each other very early in their 20s, and my parents had to make a choice as well on both sides. There was a lack of favor for the relationship, and that is part of the reason why me going to the castle where he works for my grandmother's birthday was so profound, because I had never met her, because she was never a presence in my life, because my parents chose each other. And when I had opportunities to independently meet both of my grandparents, I said no, because how can you accept one half of me and not the totality of me? So knowing that she was going to pass from the world soon was me being myself in the fullest and doing something for someone else that they probably would not have done for me. And there Chuck was. So I feel like it was to have him there on that day and to meet him there on that day was so profound, and I think it represented a healing that I didn't even know that I needed to do in order to meet my person.
And soon, the moment came to say those 3 little words they had been holding for someone dear to them.
We were snuggling, and
I had already given you the feels. Like
we were given the feels. The feels were they were emanating like waves. But I said, I have to tell you something. And he was just
super
like...
close, no glasses.
Yeah, super close.
My favorite vision.
Chuck has a very high prescription in glasses. So when he takes his glasses off, he's even more vulnerable. And I said, I have to tell you something. And I said, I love you. And you, I believe, said it right back.
Oh, yeah, I said it right back.
Yeah, right back.
Zooming out.
Yeah, we call it, like, we have like little like love zoomies where we're just like squiggling because of how much we just are filled with love in the moment. Just start like wiggling or squiggling.
Kicking my leg.
Yeah.
Loving Allie comes with some obstacles. Remember those food allergies we mentioned earlier? She has several. She's also a vegan and has comorbid disabilities. Enter Chuck. From his service and hospitality industry background, he knows all about caretaking, which makes him the perfect partner for Allie.
Fortunately, I think with the service industry, I was really good with allergies. But I'm still not good enough because there could be something everywhere, like a doggy treat and a panting dog playing out of nowhere.
That happened to us. He's referencing a real life scenario. Wow. We were dog sitting his pup niece.
Check the ingredients on a doggy treat.
And we just had scooped up some dog treats that looked good. And she was doing so well at the dog park that we were at, so we gave her a treat. And we were parked. I was in the passenger seat. The dog was in the back seat. And Chuck went into a store for maybe 10 minutes to get something. And by the time he came out, I was having a full-blown allergic reaction because she essentially hotboxed our car with turmeric.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh,
yeah.
No.
Allie became disabled in both hands several years before meeting Chuck, but it's something that he makes time and effort in their lives to make accommodations for.
I never heard the term before, and now I know and I'm aware of it, and I see it out in the world, which I do appreciate too. But I absolutely was ableist, and I still have tendencies to do that. You know, I've lived a life of sports and athleticism and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And I still ride my bicycle like...
This man is built like a tank, and I am built like an orchid. Chuck primarily gets the groceries because I have food allergies that are airborne, and I can't go into like 3 out of the 4 grocery stores in our neighborhood. And then there's also the issue of weight because my hands are disabled. So if it's more than a couple of things and I can't truly sling it onto my own shoulder.
And I'm really good at not using bags to carry stuff.
And he's so capable. He jokes that one of the things I love the most about him are his hands because he's a bartender and he uses them for work. And they're just, he's got that dexterity, and I have essentially hands for show. Like I just be a hand model. Yeah, I have dexterity but not strength.
I like it. It changed me so much where I feel really good about accommodating all your needs.
Yeah. It's not just about, oh, here, yeah, I'll open that for you. Or sure, I'll help you wash your hair. It's the energy you bring towards helping someone with those tasks that goes a long way. It's when it's done with sincerity, which I think is just the defining word for Chuck. When it's done with sincerity and love and appreciation for the person and not resignation and, what is that word? Resentment. Mm-hmm. It's just, that makes all the difference. Having a service background myself, albeit different than Chuck, I know that if you can put someone at ease do it. And you absolutely, he does that to the best of his ability and the best of mine. I hesitate to say this out loud, but I did worry a bit that someone was going to find my particular combination of things to be too much. That one of them is a lot to handle, and I come with a package of them. And Chuck has just truly risen to the occasion. There is this hesitation to have someone in your life who is like I don't know how to phrase this. Like, not that they're your caretaker, but you have needs and you have things that you just can't do. And they come in and they help you with them. And they do take care of your needs.
Pickle jars are hard. I was struggling with the pickle jars.
People struggle with pickle jars.
Listen, that was the bane of my singleness. I'd be like, I'm so great, I'm so independent, and then a jar would
just set you back.
And then I bought her the jar opener.
Oh my gosh, yes. So one of the sweetest things that Chuck did in the first couple of weeks of us dating was buy me a little gift, and it was a battery-operated can opener. Like, I was in my family's house. I was like, look at what he bought me. He bought me something to facilitate my own independence. And I think that's a huge part of it, is that caring for someone that has a disability and loving someone that has a disability are the ways in which you can facilitate their independence, not make them dependent on you.
Living with a disability has meant that Allie has had to reimagine what her life would look like. And one of the decisions she made for herself before meeting Chuck was not to have children. It's a choice that Chuck fully supports, and we talked about what their life would look like without children and why.
So it's just a multitude of reasons, really. The first is that I realized that I never had long-term future visions of my life with children in it. I realized well after the fact, that when I was truly honest with myself, children were never part of the equation. It was always myself and a partner, and that was it, a dog. But I just never saw kids. And I feel like when you truly come into this world with parent as something that you choose and that you want, you see kids in your future. And then aside from that, it would be an immense toll on my body that's already so painful on some days, and it would mean exacerbating conditions that are exceptionally painful. And I just didn't want it enough to do that. And that's not to say that disabled people can't carry children and that they can't be wonderful parents, because they absolutely can. It is beautiful. It's just not what I want to do. It's atypical, quote unquote. So I knew coming into this relationship that I didn't want children. And I made a point to mention it very early on, once I realized how much we were meaning to each other, that I don't want children. It is not up for debate. If that is something that's important in your future, as painful as it is to say, this is not going to be the relationship for us.
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
No, it wasn't at first.
What do you mean?
No, you had said that you never saw a life with children in it either, but the way that we were falling in love with each other made him consider it for the first time. And it was a scary little hanging in the balance moment for a bit, because you're like, I don't know, like, I kind of want to have children. If I had them, I would want to have them with you.
Martin Luther King Jr. has this beautiful quote that says, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve." And that is something that is at the heart of Allie and Chuck's relationship. So instead of focusing on their limitations, they focus on what they can do to serve and love this world that we live in. And I think that's beautiful.
We are 100% us for the world. I think something that I love about us, yeah, something that because the world is why we are in us. Like, the two of us are a representation of 3 races and what, like 10 different ethnicities. Like, you cannot possibly have a singular mindset coming from a perspective like that. It just doesn't work. And that's not to say that other people who have one culture aren't for the world, but I feel like there's absolutely this rallying cry with the two of us of finding where we fit in, and we find that we fit in the best with multitudes of people.
There are a couple things that you guys do that you enjoy.
Yes.
This is your platform.
Yeah.
Promote them.
We love a lot of things. First, we love biodegradable bags for trash, of which we try to accumulate as little as possible to begin with. We save our veggie scraps and we make broth. We love Too Good To Go. We tell everybody about Too Good To Go. And we volunteer with Rescuing Leftover Cuisine, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that redistributes
What does
food.
501c3 mean?
It's a tax denomination.
I didn't know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just there to help out people get fed.
Yeah.
And so we came to the final questions, the ones I ask at the end of every episode. And here's what they had to say about them.
One is love taught me. Find art and being in a nice home.
Mm.
Like, actually comfortable.
Mm. For me, I would say say the same. I would say that
I got it right?
there's no right. I mean,
Oh.
I would say that love has taught me that home is truly the jumping off point for everything else in life. And I think so many of us avoid home. I think love has taught me that when you have this safe, warm, comfortable, happy, joy-bringing place to call home, and you have zoomies in the morning and at night, it truly does just propel you to great new heights.
Do you believe in soulmates?
I don't know. I don't know. Because that's an interesting question. Do I believe in soulmates? Do you believe in soulmates?
I'm trying to think in right now.
I don't know. For me, I feel like if soulmates exist, it's not in the way that we're told. It's not in the way that you can show up however, whenever, and wherever, and do whatever and act in any way, and this person will always be by your side and will just be yours, in quotations, forever and ever. Amen.
Yes.
I don't believe in that, because at least on my end of this story, there was so much work involved in learning and unlearning, and just growing up in my ability to be a partner and my ability to show and express love in the idealized way I wanted to be able to have it and to express it. But then also I had this like constant vision that I felt was so real. So I don't know. I don't know that I know where I fall on it. Timing. I absolutely believe in fate. And I believe in destiny. So maybe I do believe in soulmates.
Then yeah.
I guess I believe in soulmates. Because there is so much just like...
Well, I believe in aliens, so does that mean...
Sure, yeah.
That helps it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, perfect. You're an alien.
Cool beans.
She's my alien.
No, I just think of like the sheer reason I ended up where he was working was cemented even before I was born.
Yeah,
that relationship between my mother and her mother, and therefore my relationship with my mother and her mother, is so much bigger than Chuck or I. And yet that is what that relationship, that intergenerational relationship, is what made me go to his job. It was that. So that absolutely is something bigger than both of us.
That is.
But like culminating in both of us at the same time. Like,
it's a very impressive thought.
Thank you.
To really put that all. That does back.
So then I guess in that sense, if I believe in a destiny that is bigger than myself and bigger than Chuck, that led me to Chuck.
I mean, look at our parents. They're just as funny. They love us.
Oh, our parents?
Our parents, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Both of the sets of parents adore us together.
Yeah, I think
it's
made their love stronger.
Yeah, watching us express love. It like rejuvenated their like young love for each other.
I think for so many of us, myself included, maybe all humans, the idea that you're living this story, and the story started before you, but the story will continue after you. But you are here on this part of the timeline.
Yeah.
This is your part of the story to tell, and then carry on. And to think that without the larger story, this little tiny story couldn't happen.
No.
If this were the last conversation the two of you were to have, what would you want the other person to know?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you for listening today. The Love Department is produced in Brooklyn, New York. A special thank you to Allie and Chuck for allowing us to interview them for today's episode. Special thanks to producer Karen Minto and sound engineer Bree Seeley. Our theme song is Love by Adam Baldick. Please stay in touch with us. You can reach out to the show on the Heartline by visiting our website at www.love-department.com. For exclusive written content, subscribe to our Substack for just $5 a month. This week, I wrote about bacon and how for the first time in 14 years, I was really hungry for a piece. And while you're here, leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast. Okay, now, hand to heart for the 4 count. I wish you love.